Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Ape Huncho, back at you with the Throwback case. So guys, we're finally here, and Cases Season 2 will be back this weekend, and again, if you didn't catch my announcement about it last week, then we'll be taking a look at some cases that shook the nation, starting off with a Breaking Bad inspired murder case. I also have a new series coming up in the future called Biker Wars, where we'll take a step away from the normal street gangs that you see on the channel, and we'll dive into the world of biker gangs around the UK, looking into some cases surrounding gangs that you might have not heard about before. I currently don't know when I'm going to release this, but as it gets closer to the time, I'll promote it, so be sure to look out for that one in the near future. Now, if you're new to the channel and you've never seen a throwback case before, it's a series I created where we take an in-depth look at some trials that have happened in the past that normally involve UK drill rappers or UK rappers in general. And if you do want to see anyone in the future, leave a comment down below to let me know who you guys want to see next. And with that being said, let's jump into the case. So A6 is a UK drill rapper who represents Block 6, which is located in Catford. In an interview with Uncle Raful, he would go on to say that even though he used to make music years before his come up, he would only start to take it seriously and start releasing music to what you guys would know it as today in March of 2016. But because A6 has had so many of his songs taken down off YouTube, it's hard to say what songs he released first, and although newer artists and groups were coming out by then, the people he was seen as coming up with would be the older drill wave with the likes of 6-7, 150 and 28. In fact, A6 was one of the earliest people to have one of his videos removed off YouTube, that being his splash diss track, Dudus. Now again, as I just stated, A6 would come up with the older drill wave, and although not as big as his peers, that still wouldn't stop him from sending shots at OD from 6-7, after he claimed he was the king of the 6 in 6-7K What Where.
I'm a king in the six, and the whole of Brixton my castle. I mean the whole of Southwest my castle.
After A6 felt like Block 6 was the only real 6 in London, more specifically South London, and LD was trying to claim that Brixton Hill was the real 6, A6 would go on to send shots at OD and 6-7 in his song I Am God in a response to 6-7K What Where.
King in the 6 and the whole of the blue my castle. Say what? I'm a 6 god and the whole South East my castle. I'm in the whole of the South my castle.
Now, after being on bad terms with 6-7, it was only right that A6 linked up with 150 and 28, who are 6-7's ops, where he would go on to release songs at 600 150 with Sticks from 150, and went on to release All of That Talk and They Know with 28. Johnny Guns would also take a shot at A6 on his song Johnny or John Block 6 Where, but people were clowning on him in the comments section, saying he was trying too hard to sound like Harlem Spartans. A6 would clap back around a month later with his diss track called John Doe, which has since been removed off YouTube. In his Uncle Raful interview, he would go on to say that Johnny Guns was a waste man, and even though he doesn't do diss tracks, he decided to release the song, going on to say that Johnny Guns had been doing this thing for 10 years, but wouldn't elaborate no further, hinting that basically Johnny Guns was washed up. He also claims to have bumped into Johnny Guns, but once again wouldn't elaborate on what happened when he seen him, but it was rumoured that A6 nearly shot Johnny Guns, but again, that's just a rumour, and I can't 100% confirm that. On March the 5th, 2017, he would go on to drop his legendary Black Box, which I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of by now, and although not lyrically the best, what he's saying in the lyrics captured the ears of drill listeners. Although his legendary Black Box would release in March of 2017, as I just said, he would go on to see himself in an incident where he faced a hefty jail sentence 2 months prior to that in January of 2017. But before we take a look at that, let's rewind back to 2011.
Good evening. Fires are burning across large parts of London tonight as more serious violence breaks out on the streets of the capital for the third night in a row. The latest trouble started in Hackney in the east of the city late this afternoon before spreading to Lewisham, Peckham and now in the last hour to Croydon in South London.
Now, I'm pretty sure all of you were clued up about the 2011 London riots, so I'm not going to dive into what happened, but as a summary, a man by the name of Mark Duggan was gunned down by police, and so the London riots occurred. Well, in those riots, an 18-year-old Alexander Elliot Joahill aka A6, would be caught up in some charges when he, along with others, were accused of raiding different stores, which included Comet, Curry's and PC World, which are all electronic goods stores, Halfords, which is an outdoor store, and a BP petrol station. On the 5th of October 2011, he was arrested, where he went on to admit burglary charges in relation to Comet and the petrol station, and handling stolen goods in relation to Curry's, and he also went on to admit handling stolen goods in relation to Halfords and PC World, but denied burglary for these two. But his guilty pleas were not acceptable to the prosecution, and he was to stand on trial alongside Laura Johnson, the daughter of a millionaire, and a 17-year-old boy by the name Christopher Edwards. On March the 8th, 2012, A6 went on to be charged with further charges of violent disorder, burglary, robbery, possession of an offensive weapon, GBH and ABH, and the GBH and ABH charges were alleged to have been carried out against police officers, and he admitted to all the charges but denied the GBH charge. Throughout the majority of the trial, A6 wasn't to make an appearance because, once again, he admitted to the majority of the charges, but it was heard that the millionaire's daughter, Laura Johnson, acted as a chauffeur driver for the rioters, which included A6. When A6 did show up for trial for the GBH charge, though, Blackfriars Crown Court was told about his rampage before he was arrested. He started his crime spree from 4:20 PM on August the 9th to 2:15 AM the following day. He was seen wearing a hoodie that zipped up over his face with a skull and brandishing a 5-inch bladed serrated fishing knife during the ordeal. At 4:20 PM, police officers manning a line to stop rioters spreading through Lewisham saw A6 making jerking stabbing motions towards police before egging other rioters on by hurling bricks at them. An hour later, still brandishing the knife, A6 was part of a mob that descended on 2 officers in a police car, with A6 leading the attack by throwing a brick that pierced a door next to a police officer. He then picked up the brick again and hurled it through the window, showering the glass on the terrified policewoman and cutting her hands and arms in the process. Prosecutor Alison Wilkes said panic and terror pervaded the car, and in a witness statement, the police officer went on to say, "I was scared if we did not get the car started, we would be dragged out of the car and badly hurt or killed." The court heard the car started and the officers made it to Lewisham Hospital, but had to be evacuated because rioters were heading there too. The court was then shown CCTV footage of A6 moving to Blackheath Antiques in Lewisham High Street. The owner, Mohammed Mazir, barricaded his shop and was washing with his son before his evening prayer. A6 was seen throwing bricks at the window before escaping with a bundle of DVDs, and then is seen throwing bottles and a large gas canister at officers who came to the shopkeeper's aid, which forced them to retreat. The shopkeeper was beaten up inside his shop until members from his local mosque came to protect what remained of his shop. At around 7 PM, A6 then burst into Favourite Fried Chicken in Catford, and CCTV showed him jumping on top of a counter, and members of a rioting group threw chairs and tables at staff behind the desk, while 2 young customers with a baby looked on in shock. He, with the looters, had fled when Bossman started throwing boiling oil at them, but they had left with the till and made off with £600. A6 then met up with Laura Johnson, the millionaire's daughter, and she drove him and 17-year-old Christopher Edwards to various shops. They went to a BP petrol station where they loaded the car up with cigarettes and alcohol, moving on to the electrical goods shops Comet, Curry's and PC World before eventually moving on to Halfords. They were eventually caught alongside Exeter University in the morning, and A6 had went on to tell police that he was picking up a friend who had asked him to help carry some TVs from Comet and that they were just putting stuff in the car. Again, he would go on to admit all charges brought against him, but had denied attempting to cause GBH with intent on the police officer, but he was found guilty on that charge after the trial. He was then sentenced to 5 years for the GBH charge and 3 years for the other offences. Sentencing A6, recorder Julian Mallins QC said, "This is plainly one of the worst series of offences committed during the riots." While accepting he had shown remorse, he added, "Nevertheless, you must appreciate each of these offences were very serious offences. Taking the overall criminality of these 2 days, it must be plain to you, as it is plain to everybody else that has seen the CCTV, let alone the victims of these crimes. Your case must be one of the most serious cases arising from the riots of last year." So obviously that was in 2012, and he would end up doing his time in jail, and of course he would start his career in UK drill music in March of 2016. But he would only see short success because on January the 28th, 2017, he would once again see himself face serious charges after getting into an altercation. At 3:40 AM on January 28th, 2017, A6 had become involved in a fight at Butler's pub in Frogmore, which had left a 32-year-old victim with with a stab wound. The victim was taken to hospital where his injuries were believed to be serious but non-life-threatening. 2 men, one believed to be A6, was arrested on suspicion of GBH and possession of bladed articles, and both men were charged the following day on the 29th of January 2017. A6 was remanded into custody, but the other male was bailed until a further date. Police forensic teams remained at the scene for the following days, and investigating officer Detective Constable Susie Price of Force CID based in High Wycombe Police Station said, "I would like to appeal to anyone who may have witnessed this incident or who has any information which could relate to it to come forward and contact police. Officers will be carrying out visible patrols in the area to provide reassurance to members of the public. Anyone who has any concerns can approach and speak to an officer." Nearly 3 months later, on the 24th of April 2017, a trial would take place, but not much information was reported about it. From what was heard though, it was said that A6 took 2 large knives into Butler's public house on Friday the 27th of January 2017, and he went on to stab the victim in an unprovoked attack which caused serious injuries, where the victim had to go on to have abdominal surgery in hospital. It was said that the injury had caused a massive impact on the victim and his family, and on a quick side note, it was heard that allegedly the man had been racist towards A6, and that's why the fight had broken out. On Friday the 28th of April 2017, after a 4-day trial at Aylesbury Crown Court, the jury found A6 guilty by a unanimous verdict. Detective Constable Susie Price would go on to say, "I would like to acknowledge the bravery of the victim and his family throughout this matter, and thank them and all the members of the public who have supported this investigation, and to those who administered first aid on that night. The victim underwent surgery for potentially fatal wounds, but thankfully recovered. I would also like to thank the police officers and staff who assisted the victim on the night and whose actions led to a swift apprehension of the 24-year-old man, aka A6, and preserved vital evidence. This verdict has shown that knife crime and carrying weapons will not be tolerated and will be taken very seriously by the police and the courts." A6 was then to be sentenced on the 31st of May 2017 at Aylesbury Crown Court. At that court date, he was handed a 15-year jail sentence, and during sentencing, the judge had described him as a dangerous offender, adding, "There's no doubt the public needed to be protected from him." And that is the A6 throwback case. Now what's interesting is when I've tried to do a little bit of research to see when A6 will be getting released, I can't actually find anything, but if the judge is describing him as a dangerous offender and the public needing to be protected from him, then it wouldn't surprise me if he has to do that whole 15 years, so we probably see him coming out in about 12 to 13 years from now. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comment section below. Give the video a little like, and if you want the latest drill, street and music news out of the UK, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your boy Huncho, and I'm out.